Aloha, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for day 2 of the 2022 Hawaii Early College convening. We would like to remind everyone that today's presentation is being recorded and will be posted on the event website. Please keep all cameras off and all microphones muted throughout the session if you would not like to be recorded. Artificial intelligence will be providing live captioning for accessibility purposes. Captions may not accurately reflect what is being said at all times. Captions will be corrected for all of the session recordings. Those recordings and resources will be posted to the site between 3 to 4 weeks after today's presentation. If you have any questions for today's presenters, please add them to the chat box, and a moderator will share your questions at the end of the session. We'll also pause occasionally during today's session to take any questions that may come up. So without any further ado, thank you for joining us for building math readiness into early college programs. Such a relevant, important topic for our current state of affairs. And I am pleased to introduce first Dr. Rachel Bates. Let's bring her on the stage with us. And she is the Associate Vice Chancellor for Educational Partnerships with the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education. We're so pleased to have her with us today. We will also be hearing from Erin Millard, who is Associate Professor of Mathematics at Kauaʻi Community College. Erin was not able to join us in person via the conference platform, but she has recorded a video for us. So after Dr. Bates's presentation, we will go to that video and then we'll leave time at the end, as I said, for question and answer. So we will start with Dr. Bates. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, well, good afternoon, good morning to everyone in Hawaii. My name is Rachel Bates and I serve as the Associate Vice Chancellor for Educational Partnerships here at the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education. Prior to my role here at the State Regents, I actually was a math faculty member. I taught college mathematics for approximately 18 years. I taught everything from developmental prerequisite courses as well as concurrent students, which are those high school students taking those courses. And in the current space that I am at the State Regents, I work with our 25 public institutions on relevant policy and pedagogical practices with regards to undergraduate mathematics. So very relevant topic for me and something that is certainly near and dear to my professional heart. I do have a PowerPoint, so let me switch over to that real quick and we'll get started. So as our introduction had noted, we're going to spend a little bit of time this morning now, to talk about building math readiness into early college programs. I also want to take just a few minutes to provide some contextual information, because when we talk about early college programs, it does matter into that context of how that is being delivered, whether that be at an institution or a state system like we are here in Oklahoma. So I want to give you just a little bit of background about where this journey started in Oklahoma and where we are at today. Oklahoma has a very rich history. I'm going to start using the term here initially as concurrent enrollment. We actually started concurrent enrollment in the early 70s in the state. When it was initially rolled out, it was primarily for the accelerated student that was an exceptional academic, and opportunities for those students were rather limited at that time, as one could imagine in the early 70s. As we've transitioned over the last several decades, a lot of attention has been drawn to the importance of early access to college. And certainly when we're talking about marginalized populations and students who may not consider themselves as college students. So a lot has happened in the last 50 years in our state with regards to concurrent. I put a couple of key bullet points on here just to kind of capture the the way that our state has adapted over the last 50 years, as you can see. Most recently, back in 2018, our legislatures allowed for our high school seniors who qualify to take 18 hours of college credit, and 11th graders could take up to 9. And we do have a caveat there in terms of the funding, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but funding for juniors is not a guarantee every year. That's something we do have to allocate with our budget, and certainly hope that the legislatures provide the funding for that. And then most recently, again, in 2018, we actually adopted a separate concurrent enrollment policy that formalized what concurrent education means in our state. As this space has progressed and developed over time, as it often does in higher education, we actually now have 2 ways one could think about early college or concurrent education programs. And there's a lot on this particular slide, so I won't actually go through all of it, but I do want to make a very clear point that currently in our state, we do have prior learning assessment. And so prior learning assessment would be things where students would be taking, for example, an AP course, and they would be given AP credit, and that the college would transcribe that over to collegiate credit. Well, students could also take advantage of early college programs, and the early college programs in some districts, because we don't have it system-wide or statewide, but some of those could be as early now as the 9th grade. They're still taking their high school curriculum, and they have to reach certain target dates and certain course structures throughout that high school years. And eventually, as they get up into those junior and senior years in an early college model, some of those models could help a student earn an associate's degree or an AAS degree. When we talk about traditional concurrent enrollment, that is more alike to what some of you might call dual enrollment. So we're talking about, again, high school juniors or seniors, and they're taking a college class, and they're taking it either at the local college, or the college is providing a faculty member to come to their institution to deliver the content. It's a little bit different in Oklahoma than it is in some other states on the mainland, where concurrent could possibly be high school teachers teaching collegiate curriculum. And that's just not the case in Oklahoma. The other essential difference between early college and traditional concurrent enrollment from the policy perspective is really the intentionality of early college programs. If you'll look in those bulleted items, you'll see that we really want institutions to create programs that will target specifically underserved student populations in their immediate area, whereas the traditional concurrent, again, that tends to be for those who already have a pathway or a clear pathway for those collegiate experiences. Early college programs in Oklahoma, prior to 2022, we had 3 relatively successful early college programs. These names will be not of anything of importance necessarily to the audience, but just to give you some background on Oklahoma. Oklahoma City Community College is here in our state capital, here in Oklahoma City, and it is the largest community college in the metro, and it is nearly larger than our 2 universities that we have here. So they see on average about 23 to 24,000 students per year. Oklahoma Panhandle is a state university, but it is in the panhandle of our state. So it's in the far western side of the state, very remote, closer to Kansas and closer to Colorado than they are to the metro of our state. So we're talking, a good 4.5 hours from the metro. And we had Tulsa Community College also. Tulsa Community College is in Tulsa, which is north of the state capital. It's north of the metro. And Tulsa actually is the largest institution that we have, even though it is a community college. It definitely surpasses the sizes that we have of our state institutions. And then most recently, we just had Connors and Murray State be approved. And again, under that definition that they were creating programs of study that were for those underserved populations. And those were just recently approved. Again, the schools here are meaningless to those of you that are in Hawaii, but I did want to put the names up there in case anyone wanted to do some reach out. And so we certainly would welcome that if there's anyone in Hawaii that would like to visit with any of those that are listed here. Because again, it really is a partnership between the community college and that high school institution to create these early college programs that we have. And as I noted earlier by policy, we're talking about early college programs have to help students from high schools ideally earn an associate's degree or certificate at little to very no cost. And we also would like them to reduce the required time to complete that college degree. And in alignment with our policy, again, they need to benefit traditionally underserved students who would, at the onset of this program, have the most to gain from pursuing the college degree while they're still in high school. The next couple of slides that I have here will be some data from our institutions, and I often don't like to put data because it looks like this, a lot of stuff on a screen. But suffice it to say, if you can't really read the actual legend, if you just look at the picture for a moment, again, you can see over the last decade for concurrent enrollment, this is by head count, juniors and seniors, juniors on the left, seniors on the right. Again, because of the guarantee for seniors of those 18 credit hours for that senior year, they could take any combination of those hours. They're not limited to those 18 hours, but the 18 hours is what the tuition waiver will cover. Students, parents, guardians, someone is responsible for the actual fees and textbooks associated to concurrent enrollment, and that can sometimes be a deterrent for some. Now, some districts or some schools, higher ed schools, they might have a local foundation or philanthropy providing some cost to where concurrent is actually no cost. Unfortunately, that's not what it is, again, for every particular case. Because we did talk about juniors being not necessarily guaranteed to be funding available, again, you can see where it's increasing, but it's not nearly at the rate of the seniors that are certainly participating in concurrent enrollment. When we look at just the credit production, again, very difficult to read the legend, but if we just pay attention to the bars, you can see again just what the incredible amount of credit hours we're talking about with regards to the seniors and collectively as a body. We're talking, somewhere in the 100 and, over 100, 114, if we're somewhere in there, 114,000 credit hours for this particular cohort of students over the last decade. And I did want to put in just a couple of points here. You will have a copy of this. We will make sure that this gets uploaded to the conference portal. So these links that I have in the presentation will take you directly to this particular research study. Not surprising, certainly as a former practitioner, the bulleted points that were found by the American Institute for Research Study. We know that early college students are significantly more likely to graduate from high school than their peers who do not pursue early college models. We also know that early college students are more significantly to enroll in college just in general, right? So we're going to get better graduation high school rates. We're also going to get better retention in those colleges by just having students participate in early college. And when we look at the last two bulleted items, again, we know that early college students are more likely to earn the college degree Again, if they start early in those early college programs, they're more likely to actually complete than stop out and drop out. And again, we did see that, or they did find that it did not necessarily impact subgroups, but the difference was generally in favor for, again, those underrepresented groups. If they started in early college, those groups outperformed their peers. Again, some more information just to give you the context for Oklahoma. This is not unique by any means, and I believe it's very similar to what your high school requirements are in Hawaii. In Oklahoma, our high school students are required to take 3 units of mathematics. The way the language is written, it is written to where those other 2 units are at or above the rigor of Algebra 1. And so that does open up a lot of differentiation across the nearly 600 districts that we have in our state for K-12. But generally, for those that are in the early college, those that are in the college route, they're going to take the traditional Algebra 1, Algebra 2 geometry track. Some of our high schools might offer courses that you see listed here. And they certainly may also offer some AP options. Oklahoma is still in its infancy with regards to building and developing pathways at the high school level. Right now, it's very algebraic focused, and we hope to continue our work in not only reforming undergraduate mathematics education, but providing reform in the high school years so that students can understand the breadth and depth of mathematics, that it's not just about algebra. And if we can expose students really early on to different courses and experiences with mathematics, they will actually enjoy mathematics. So I do want to also share with you some Oklahoma data points, and I have some Hawaii data points as well. Oftentimes when you come to a session, you wonder, well, how close are they to really our students, or we're just so different, this couldn't work. So I just want you to kind of be aware that we're no more exceptional in Oklahoma than anywhere else. Again, lots of data. I'll try to break it down for you a little bit, but what we have here is a 5-year longitudinal data collection here, where we see the head count in the far left. Again, we average around 17-ish hundred students, and then their respective remediation rates. Notice that this is 2020, so the interesting data is yet to come for those of us that are in this space. We know, based upon the NAEP standards, that every state saw a decline in numbers. And so when we look at the 21 foregoing, we're going to have, asterisks on every little data set hereafter for nearly, a couple of decades, because we know these are going to be our COVID cohorts. But suffice it to say, these are the numbers that we have here for 5 years. And again, if you just want to pay attention mainly to the math numbers, again, just kind of an ebb and flow, low peaks, high peaks. It was relatively low. It bumped up a little bit. And again, many of us are expecting to see the 21 and 22 numbers come up. Hopefully not considerably, but we expect to see those numbers to come up, just with the learning loss and the COVID issues that we all faced. This graph here is, again, showing us the remediation rates, of course, by subject. But if we just want to look at the gray bar for a moment, you'll see, again, very indicative of what the numerical table showed you before. We were low in the low 30s. We had a little ebb and flow. We got it down to about 25% in 2019. Okay, and so the next 4 slides that I have will be the Hawaii information. This information was shared by someone in Hawaii with me for this presentation. So if there are questions about the Hawaii data, I'll probably direct you to the Hawaii representatives. I just wanted to share the data with you so you could kind of get, again, a sense of what is going on in Hawaii. So again, the table, I apologize, it's pretty small, but if we were to just look at, and this is just going to be math numbers, if we look at just the top row there, it looks like Hawaii is averaging about 1,300 roughly students that will enroll in college level mathematics. But if you look at the bottom, this is kind of like a juxtaposition, because you've got 34%, roughly 35% going into college level, but then you've got another almost teetering higher number, almost 43%, not doing anything, right? And that's the piece that we really want to spend some time on today, to really kind of emphasize the importance of keeping students into the mathematics. Again, not too different from the graph I had shared with the Oklahoma data. You kind of see that it's done a flip-flop, right? So it does appear that students were enrolling in mathematics their first year of college, and then all of a sudden they stopped doing that. And then students not enrolling in their class the first year of college, right? So a little bit of a flip-flop there. And then this graph here is basically showing us the students who met math proficiency in high school. And again, the data is just showing us, again, what most of us as math educators know. Students who fail to take math either their senior year or that immediate freshman year of their first semester just simply don't perform. You're losing the skill set that you've taken 12 years to develop by just not doing and engaging in mathematics. We know what happens every year in summer, that summer melt. Even in really good students, we have that summer melt between the end of a school year and the start of another. And so when you exacerbate that over not taking something your senior year, not taking something your freshman year, I have just, countless stories of students who waited until their fourth year, so their senior year, not taking any math. They might as well start back from scratch, right? And so the data here in Hawaii really does kind of share a very similar story. And then the last graph that I have from Hawaii is showing the 6 years after graduation. So again, very similar. The key here is if you finished your math, start your math early, get it done, you're more apt to actually graduate on time, or not even on time, but just graduate in general. Okay. I want to spend just the next couple of minutes and sharing with you all just some experiences from the field, what we've done here in Oklahoma to help mitigate some of the efforts that we have when we're talking about mathematics and mathematics education in light of the data that I shared with you before. So Oklahoma has partnered with the Southern Regional Education Board, that's SREB, and implemented the College Career Math Ready curriculum for juniors and seniors. It is a course that's offered at the high schools. It really is for those students who are initially, it was rolled out that these students would be those bubble kids in Oklahoma. Students need to score a 19 in the math proficiency on the ACT. So if you had students who were scoring just below that, you would want to encourage the students to take this fourth year math. The content in the CCMR is very much in line with Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and geometry. And they are provided with opportunities to really engage and learn that material in a new and exciting way. So we have a joint statement here from the current state superintendent of K-12 education and our former former chancellor for the state regents, and it's basically a letter of support so that the districts recognize that K-12 is supporting this endeavor, as well as the colleges as well. And what we have with the higher ed is that if a student earns a A or a B in the CCMR course, when they transfer into a receiving institution of higher ed, that institution will waive remediation, or that student will automatically qualify to be put into one of the four pathways that we have here in Oklahoma. So trying to give some incentive for students to take that fourth year math, and then give them some benefit for not having to remediate when they do come to college. What we found actually by just, again, having students engaging in the mathematics that fourth year, even though it's content that they have already seen, it's Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and geometry content, they were, again, bubble students. What we found is that those students who just simply took this math course their senior year, they actually were able to, 65% were able to pass college algebra their first year, right? As opposed to if they just sat out, only about, you have like a 61% chance of passing college algebra if you didn't score well on the ACT and sat out, right? And then for those who were over the 19, again, by taking the mathematics that fourth year, again, now we're seeing a bump of almost 11% for those particular students, but they 76% as opposed to the 71%. So again, just, comparing the groups of who does and who doesn't take math that fourth year, we definitely see the stark benefits of that for the student. Again, even if you're comparing, those who score on an 18 versus those who score a 19. Again, another data point here. So students who simply did not take a fourth year math, who found themselves in remediation, 61% of that cohort would pass that remediation. If students took that fourth year math, just any fourth year math, we found that they had a 70% chance of passing remediation. If they took the CCMR course, though, again, we're talking about almost 80%, right? So again, they were engaged with the content. They were engaged in it such in a way that it benefited them for learning the content in a much more salient manner. And the scores just simply, reinforce that model. Oklahoma also, we are a ACT, SAT state, if you will. We don't have state testing, but so the ACT or SAT could serve as the state test. It's up to the district to decide which tests they want to use for that. So we have 100% participation in either of those, right? So they're one or the other is what the students are taking. And we also have a program where every sophomore in the state is given the pre-ACT. And so again, through the pre-ACT, we have another group up here at the state regents where they utilize that data to share with their high schools so that the high schools can make curricular decisions. They can focus on, mitigation efforts with those particular students who may be struggling in areas, really getting back to the students to getting help where we know help is needed. Why wait when we know in the 10th grade year where a student or a group of students may need some additional assistance? This is just really a broad information to let you know that, again, it's not just one silver bullet, if you will, in education. I think it's much more like a human octopus, where you've got students centered in the middle and lots of tentacles happening. And so same kind of idea here when we talk about helping students be prepared for high school. We've got lots of programs. Oklahoma has a Promise Scholarship. It's really a national model for scholarship programs. We have, I've already noted about the pre-ACT. We have undergraduate Garrett programs. We have the You Can Go To. Just lots of things for parents and students to kind of be aware of so that they know about post-secondary opportunities and so that they themselves can see themselves being college students to do that. Additionally, over the last, probably about 8 years now, we did a lot of policy revisions here at the State Regent's Office. And one of those key areas was really allowing our institutions autonomy to determine how they were going to place students in English, math, or reading. And we have moved more to a holistic multiple measures method for placement, as opposed to a single test on a computer placement test or a single ACT score. So students can look at their high school GPA, their actual degree of study, and really get placed according to that, and not just one test. I spoke about this earlier. We have 4 courses here in Oklahoma where students can embrace and engage with mathematics. We have what we call a pre-calculus, which is very similar to a college algebra course. We have quantitative reasoning for the liberal arts majors. We have an elementary statistics opportunity, as well as a functions and modeling course. And these are all what we call gateway freshman level courses with no prerequisites outside of, needing to have, the ACT score or just be admitted into the college or having the appropriate GPA. I'll shift real quickly and talk about some of the benefits of early college programs and concurrent education programs. Again, lots of data. I'm just going to hit on the bolded items. Just from the perspective of Oklahoma, again, early college concurrent is taxpayer dollars that's facilitated through our agency. And so we know that we want to be, kind stewards of that money. And so it's really important that at the end of that period, we are able to say, like, we utilize those funds well. And we found that in the 2019-2020 academic year, 24% of students who earned an associate's degree were participating in concurrent enrollment, and 26% of those who earned a bachelor's degree also started in concurrent enrollment. So again, starting early and finishing, right? Having early access to college definitely does have a rewarding benefit to it. And then also we could see here that former concurrent students graduated approximately 28 percentage points higher than those who did not participate. So as we were talking about just retention, we're talking about making sure we have graduates that we count at the end of the year. Having students participate in concurrent education or early college definitely does seem to fit that bill. Again, just because my time is running short, I want to hit the bulleted points here. 99% of the students who engage in concurrent enrollment finish high school. So again, we're talking about, those mitigation efforts to help retain those students to stay in high school and get into college. By keeping them in an early college program, concurrent program, we know that those students are engaged in the next phase of their academic journey. 96.7% of our concurrent college students are successful in college courses that they attempt. Okay, these are just some things that we've done for, again, that feedback loop, if you will, the continuous improvement that we think about, because it's not a one and done. It's not about just creating a program, having it and stopping it. You always want to refine your processes. And so, again, I've talked about the test optional. Many institutions, many states, because of COVID, moved to test optional. I'm not sure where we'll stay on this, particularly as we're moving out of that. But we do have a pilot program. So 20 of our 25 institutions are moving to a test optional. I've talked about the CCMR. We also have co-requisite options, and we have the math and English that we're looking at in terms of data. Okay. These are the courses that our institutions offer at the high school. Again, I apologize for the small font, but not all the districts provide all of these courses. And outside of Algebra 2, we do have standards now for statistics and pre-calculus, but the others, there aren't common standards for those courses. And I think this is my last slide, I believe, so I'm taking just a minute here past my time. We know the benefits of a fourth year math. And again, as a former math practitioner, I can't leave this venue without stressing, the importance of really engaging with your students to having them take that fourth year math. By taking that fourth year math, we know they're more likely to succeed post-secondary. We also know, as I mentioned before, the learning loss, the summer slide, whatever you want to call it, math is learning through progression. And when you stop using that skill set, you will lose what you've learned. And again, if you're not directly engaging in instruction, again, we know that learning loss is there. And when it comes to mathematics, it does come at such a profound cost for students. I believe we're going to save questions for after Erin's video, but here is my email for those of you that would like that, and we will pop that back up there as soon as we finish with Erin's component. So Dana, I believe I'm done there. I will
Yes.
get off camera and let us run Erin's.
Yes, great. So as we're bringing up the video portion of today's session, just a reminder, please do continue to put questions in the chat and we will get to those at the end of the session. So we will navigate to the beautiful island of Kauaʻi. And I'll bring up Erin's video. In case anyone did not hear the message at the beginning, Erin Millard was not able to join us, but she has offered her presentation through video. So we'll start that now.
Aloha and welcome to our talk on building math readiness into early college programs. I'm Erin Millard and I am the co-presenter along with Rachel Bates. I am the Associate Professor for Math and the Math Coordinator at Kauaʻi Community College. A little bit of background information on me. I grew up on the island of Kauaʻi. I graduated from Kauaʻi High School and then I went to college at Pacific University. I achieved my bachelor's in math and I got my master's in teaching. And immediately after I started teaching at Kauaʻi High School. I taught at Kauaʻi High School for 8 years and I mainly taught Algebra 1 and AP Calculus. And then I had a baby. So in 2013, I decided I wanted to be closer to home, which was in Lihui. So I applied for a position at Kauaʻi Community College and I was able to get it. So since 2013, I've been teaching at Kauaʻi Community College and this is now my 18th year teaching there, teaching total, my 10th year overall at Kauaʻi CC. So a little bit of background on early college. It began in the spring of 2015, but it was in the makings a little bit before that. So over 10 years ago, Kelly Bailey from Kauaʻi High School and Gigi Drent ran the first of what we now call Early College Math 103, but they ran it under the Running Start umbrella. So each student had to register and pay for their own tuition, and they got a grant from the Kauaʻi High School Foundation to pay for their textbooks. There was a lot of success in that first class, so they sent the data up to Hawaii P20 and started considering an early college program. So Gigi was kind of had a lot to do with the growth of early college here on our island. She wrote a few grants, the alignment grant from Hawaii P20 and the partnership grant from Hawaii DOE to cover some workshops plus implement the course. And then Gigi wrote for the Title III grant and it started to cover the cost for math classes. So while that was happening early on, now P20 started taking on the early college initiative and they got the grant for early college kick-started in later for all the courses in high schools. So this semester, we currently offer 26 early college classes, 8 of which are math courses. We serve our 3 main high schools, Kauaʻi High School, Kauai High School, and Waimea, and 2 public charter schools, Kawhaikini and Kanui Kapono. Some of our schools are closer than others, so we are tasked with the challenge of accommodating for in-person instruction on their campus, as well as coordinating with our small group of math instructors that are willing to travel off our campus. Our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Frankie Harris, had shared her vision for our early college program. She sees a lot of potential with offering courses that are taught by instructors at Kauaʻi CC at the high schools. And as we continue to progress in offering early college courses, we hope to consider the following. How are we helping our underrepresented student population? And since we are a small population, how can we better share our resources, yet offer these courses? And lastly, how are these courses doing in the long run? Are we accelerating their time to degree? And are they making a living wage? Since Kauaʻi CC has been able to offer early college courses over the past few years, we have grown in our early college enrollment. We have approximately 25% of our KCC student population made up of early admit students. Early admit numbers include Running Start students, but the majority are early college students. Here you can see we have cumulative data over the years from fall 2011 until spring 2020. I know we started only teaching early college in spring of 2015, but as you can see, this is data that's being averaged over the years on how our students are succeeding. So success data includes a C or better, and these are the courses that are offered at early college as well as on our campus. So we have a comparison of successes between our courses. So in the darker colored, we have non-early college, and in the lighter colored blue, we have early college students. So here you can see that for every single course, there is a much greater success rate overall. We don't have any current data between spring 2020 until now because we have a short staffing. We don't have our institutional researcher here on campus, but I'm sure that you'll probably see similar data happening in the past couple years. Okay. What kind of math classes do we offer? So from the previous slide, you could probably see what courses we had offered so far for our early college math. I have listed them in popularity here on the second box. Currently we have, or overall, we've offered 29 sections of Math 103, 22 sections of Math 140X, 10 sections of 241, which is calculus, 9 of 242, which is Calc 2, and then we have some Math 115s being offered, 7 sections of that, and then now I think we're moving into offering more Math 100 courses. As far as the frequency that's happening, it just depends on what high school wants what. Certain high schools want to really strengthen their STEM track, so they've been really prioritizing offering the Math 103, 140X, 241, 242 sequence. And it's also dependent on the availability of our faculty and if we can be there for them. As far as modalities go, we have offered a lot of classes. They're mainly in person, and then we've moved to online synchronous and hybrid courses over the past couple of years because of COVID. But that has also led us to show our capacity to move online if needed. As far as times of day, we usually teach during the period that the classes are scheduled on their campus. And if it's not possible to fit them in, we schedule the class immediately after school. All of our courses have a support teacher who specializes in math to be present during class time, as well as on the days they are not on, that I or the other instructors are not on campus. This slide discusses how the high school teacher and college instructor work to support our students. So you see on the left, the high school teacher will communicate with all the parties, the high school parents, the high school students, the counselors, etc. Due to FERPA, the college instructor communicates directly with the student. As far as the high school teacher, they are available during the school day to help students. They are on their campus and they provide the support for students to accomplish the course. As far as the college instructor is also available on campus. Sometimes they hold their office hour on days and times where students have like advisory periods or extra blocks of time. And they're also available to possibly Zoom with students later in the evening or even on campus as needed. The college instructor communicates directly with the high school teachers over areas of concern. Since a student is also at a Kauaʻi CC student, they have access to all of our services offered to them. Some of the main ones that are applicable to these students include, but are not limited to, the following. They can attend academic tutoring on campus, have access to mental health care through Hale Malama, discuss their future financial aid where they can apply for their FAFSA, and go to the career counseling section to figure out what they want to be, and attend Find Your Future events that help students with becoming an actual full-time student at Kauaʻi CC. So a little bit about me and my experience teaching early college. I love teaching early college. I get to be a part of the high school atmosphere. They're going through so much change. They're so social. They just want to grow and want to learn. I love teaching growth mindset. I think math trauma is for real, and students need help with building their confidence and being encouraged in their learning journey, and being okay with making mistakes and knowing that that's part of it. And then I also love building relationships with the faculty on campus. I love seeing positive relationships that are developed through team teaching, and depending on each other as we journey through helping these students succeed. As far as currently, I'm teaching 2 Math 103 courses at Kauaʻi High School, and we plan to hold 2 more sections of Math 140X in the spring. It's so important to be able to build the bridges between the high school instructors if the high school wants to prioritize this as courses that are being offered. The instructor that I currently teach with, he is the math department head there. And so he's very excited and hoping to roll out even more possibilities for our students next year. He wants to offer a Math 241 calc sequence, 241, 242 in the spring, and then also offer Math 115, which is a great avenue for our students who are non-STEM track, which is statistics and probability. So we have some examples for students that have graduated already. So class of 2018, these students took early college calculus at Kauaʻi High School. I'm just going to talk about what they're doing now. So we got Arnold Pilionar, who earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Economics, graduated magna cum laude from UH Manoa. Justin Paleka earned a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering at UH Manoa and is currently pursuing postgraduate research there. Sejong Takenaka earned a Bachelor's of Arts in English at the University of Richmond and is currently a teaching fellow at Excel Academy, Boston. Ana Malia Santos earned a Bachelor's of Science in Electrical Engineering, University of Portland, and is currently working at an electrical engineering firm in Portland. Kylie Bush earned a Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Engineering at Oregon State University and is currently a staff engineer on Oahu at Brown and Caldwell, Honolulu. Victoria Hennessy earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology, University of Washington, and is currently pursuing a postgraduate degree at UW's iLabs, the Institute for Learning and Brain Sciences. Some of our early college students are even able to graduate in 3 years. For example, Kalei Ramil, class of 2019, just earned a Bachelor's of Science in Biology from UH Manoa this year and is currently interning and applying to medical school for fall 2023. So as you can see on this slide, we see a lot of positives for early college. There's support, there's a solid foundation, and it could be also a STEM springboard for a lot of our students to go into fields like engineering and math. Now, if this doesn't apply to our STEM students, don't forget, or please take this away. Don't stop taking math. So if students aren't ready to take any early college math course, consider encouraging them to take a 4-year math. Gigi Drent and I worked with Hawaii P20 and designed a 12th grade transitions course called Introduction to College Math, or ICM. This course is offered across the state, and if students take this course and receive a 2 on their Smarter Balance assessment, they are able to place into any non-STEM college math course at any of our UH campuses. Some of Kauaʻi High's ICM students have gone to Kauaʻi CC. They were able to avoid taking Math 75X and move ahead into either Math 100 or Math 115. This is a motivating factor for students who may not realize that there are benefits to excelling in ICM in high school in order to bypass Math 75X. and kickstart their post-secondary journey. So this wraps up my portion of the presentation. What do I hope to see as we journey into our future? I hope to see students thriving in their math courses, less negativity towards learning math, more interest from the heart with development of pathways, more certainty of students and their careers, more students entering into the workforce able to provide for their future and their families. So how does this happen? Well, we need more discussion centered around pathways and proper placement, and more sessions like these, of course. So thank you for your attention through this pre-recorded video. Hawaii P20 folks will save your questions and send them to me. If you want to contact me directly, email is best. I have posted it here on this slide. Mahalo and a hui hou.
Okay, so thank you to Erin. Even though she's not here, we'll be sure to thank her. And we do want to pass on your questions to her. So go ahead and drop those in the chat so that we have record of them. We do have time now for some questions that you can pose to Dr. Bates. So please go ahead and add those in. I will bring her back on stage. We do have a question to kick off our question and answer. Okay, it's a long one.
Okay.
So as you were talking about just to take everyone back to, I think, where this came from, the alignment into different pathways and different math courses. How often or do you see students placing into one math class based on their initial college career plans, but then change their mind about those college and career plans and need to take a different math class?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we definitely, struggle with in Oklahoma. Again, not unique to any other state grappling with pathways. I think the bigger issue is that when, for example, if a student, let's say, takes the alternative to college algebra, right, like the quantitative reasoning or statistics, and then they have this epiphany that they want to be, let's say, a STEM major, right? Mm-hmm. The math really is the least of the worries because there's going to be a whole heck of a lot of science that person really needs more than the math. Yeah, there's going to be some math, but again, anecdotally, a lot of math professionals will say it's very much the opposite, where we have a lot of exciting youngsters who want to be engineers, and then they get in and they realize engineering is a problem solving and it's word problems. And they're like, I don't want this. I just thought I wanted to be an engineer, right? So it's usually the other case that happens. But again, suffice it to say, do we still struggle with that? Absolutely. And it's really hard with those high school students because they just don't know what they want to do, or they think they want to know. And so, and it's also hard because in Oklahoma currently, which it is in a lot of states, college algebra is still the I don't want to call it a free pass, but it's the one that will fit any degree plan, right? And so because of that, it kind of allows everything to kind of still continue to run the way it is, right? Even though we want to really, have students think about what they want to do more than think about the college class, right? We want to think about, like, what's your goal? Now, I will say in Oklahoma, we have now a new high school graduation requirement where students have to actually go through an individual career academic plan. It's called ICAP. So there's another higher ed acronym, but ICAP, ICAP. And what we're asking our high schools to do is as early as 9th grade, but some can even do it as early as 8th grade, really having structured time and exercises for students to go into into their ICAP and explore careers, explore what it means to be an engineer, explore what it means to be a scientist, etc. So that students are thinking about that a lot earlier, as opposed to being a freshman on a college campus, 18, and saying, I don't really know, just I'm going to pick something. And then they realize that they are not in what they want. And then they end up having way too many hours. They've exhausted their financial aid. They're taking up a lot more loans. So again, kind of putting that career exploration a lot earlier seems to be an approach we're taking in Oklahoma. We hope that the ICAP really will help facilitate those conversations. And here's the other thing. We can't fix it for everybody. We can't say that's never going to happen, because it's going to happen when that student does ultimately change.
Sure.
But we can't hold everybody back, because we're going to have potentially, like, let's keep putting everyone in college algebra because, you know, we don't want the one student who's going to change their mind. Let's make it more, you know, equitable for everyone and more relevant for everyone if we could have them kind of pick that. So again, I have a long answer, right? So I don't know if I'm hitting the answer for the person who's asking it, but suffice it to say, I think it's a very complicated problem. I think it's one that just takes a lot of thinking through and processing. I wish the answer isn't what I've given, that college algebra still is the you know, the golden ticket for all degree plans, but that's kind of what it is. But again, as a mathematician, as a former practitioner, there's so much more to math than just what students are being exposed. And if they have just a small taste of that early on, they still might not care for math, but they'll at least understand that there's more to math than that.
Right. Thank you. I think that does address the question. There was a follow-up in the data that you've been looking at when those 4 courses were added or set up the way that they are, I believe in 2018. Have you noticed any change in the data since then?
Yeah, absolutely. Tremendous, actually. And so I'm glad that this question was asked, because I you know, there's always so much you want to share, but you have such a limited amount of time. But if we were to look at our data in Oklahoma, even 10 years ago, we had as much as, and I'm going to not get the numbers exactly right. Let's just use a number of like 37,000 students in college algebra, right? 37,000 students. One would say, well, gosh, I hope we have at least 50 or 80% that's going to take calculus. Guess what? No, it's like less than 1% that would take calculus. So in 2018, when we implemented those other courses, the same 35,000 students we have, now we're seeing about 12,000 students annually being placed in college algebra, now called pre-calc. And guess what? Those students are the prepared students. Those are the ones who are like excited about calc, that want to be in that class. They're super ready for it. They're prepared. Those other, what is that leaving me with? Can I do the math in my head? The other 20,000 students didn't just go away. Those other 20,000 students are now being placed in those other 3 courses. And the other exciting part about this is also, Dana, is that we have success rates now roughly at about 70% for each of those courses. So we're getting the right students into the right classes, the relevant classes, and they're, as much as one can be excited about those courses, and when they're not, you know, necessarily math majors, but the students are engaging with the content and they're being successful. And that's the bigger thing. You know, we had a pass rate of college algebra that was always very dismal, you know, under 60%. We were throwing, you know, everything at it, you know, except for the things that stick at the wall. And we kept scratching our heads wondering why kids are not passing this class. Why are they not passing this class? Well, it's not relevant to them. And they don't understand why they're being put into that. So again, by just taking those other 14,000 students out, the students who are in there, they're really getting what they want. Those other students are still getting the math education they need. It's just more relevant. And we're seeing those DWF rates completely kind of like, you know, plateau out, and we're getting pass rates at about 70% for pretty much all 4 courses. The statistics may be a little higher pass rates, but just in this setting, I feel comfortable saying at least 70% pass rates.
That's great. Congratulations on that. That's really an achievement. And I think, you know, you've highlighted a couple of things in terms of fit for the student. And I think that makes me think of the opening this morning, when we think about the impact on a student's sense of self-efficacy as it relates to math and as it relates to being able to complete that college degree and go into that career that they're interested in. You know, I think for all of those areas, as someone who really has lived in the humanities, when I found my first statistics class, I was overjoyed. I was like, well, this is math that matters to me. This is math that I need. It answers that age-old question that we want to frame a little bit differently. So I think that's a really exciting area, and we can't build programs for the exception. So I really appreciate your answer. Yeah.
We can't hold back everybody for the exception, right? And
Right.
so, do they happen? Yes. Will it happen? Yes. But I think if you're very transparent with students, and if you have, your program mappings, and you tell the student, by changing, this is what's going to happen, that's going to deter them. But just so that they know, like, by changing, this is what's going to happen. And if they're really set on changing to that major, they accept that and they just kind of move on. So it would be no different than any of us going back to school in a completely different field. There's going to be prerequisites that we have to probably go back and take, right? Or other content areas that we just didn't get. And that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But again, I think to sacrifice the whole, right, group for just an occurrence is really not a good practice.
Yeah, that's great. We are at time, so I know all of our audience, the participants today in this session, join me in thanking you, Rachel, and Erin, through her video presentation. If there are any questions we did not get to, and certainly any questions specific to Erin's work, please do continue to finish your thoughts. If you're typing in chat right now, we'll grab those. Or you can email any of us at Hawaii P20 and we'll be sure to get those to our presenters today. So our next session will be starting at 11 o'clock. You have a couple of minutes to take a break and then jump back into another session. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Bates, for joining us. And we hope to see you here in Hawaii one day for one of our sessions in person. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.